Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity character showcase, and today we are looking at the champion of the Rito, our first champion, and it's going to be Revali. I remember when this game was first announced, the first thing I thought was that Revali is going to be playable, he's going to have the carpet bombing bomb arrows from the Champion's Ballad DLC from Breath of the Wild, and he's going to be overpowered top tier. And in this game, he doesn't quite reach that same level of brokenness that I would have wanted. He still is a very, very powerful character. He builds meter really, really quickly, and he has some great combos for breaking the weak point gauge to capitalize on just how easily he can expose weak point gauge with his specials. So the first thing to point out about Revali is that he has two modes, which is his flying and his grounded combos. The thing about his regular attacks is they can be fairly useful for the purposes of building meter, particularly with the combo 3. The combo 3, he picks up an enemy, throws him down to the air, then he rises back up into the air and rains down bomb arrows. You're going to be using this the majority of the time for building up your special, and then you're going to be seeing much of your damage output from his flight combos. Most of his flight combos are fairly useful for the purposes of wave clearing, but the combo 5 and the combo 6 in the air, very similarly to other characters in the game, using these in tandem with each other is really, really great for either breaking weak point gauges or exposing it. Now, the thing about combo 6s, and you might find this to be a recurring theme for a lot of characters, is that doing a combo 6 tends to be a little bit risky because you run that risk of being interrupted. The thing is, though, is that if you're playing as Revali, you have the advantage of being in the air. So, because of how easily you can go up into the air, it's very, very easy for you to stay out of the attack range of the enemy and then fire off the combo yourself. This is very, very useful for fighting against larger enemies, and it works really nicely in tandem with his stasis. Similarly to most characters as well, the stasis move that Revali has results in an animation that can be dodge cancelled out of. I would recommend waiting until after he fires off the attack. He fires off a rain of arrows, and with that rain of arrows, you can dodge cancel out of that, and that just counts as extra damage. Now, another thing about Revali is that when you take flight, so you enter flight mode, this is very useful for disrupting enemies that are charging the projectiles at you. If you see them, there's a good chance you'll be in range. The hitbox range of this flight is really large. You won't necessarily kill enemies, only on the easiest of difficulties you'll be able to clear enemies simply by existing near them, but it's just very, very useful for the purposes of disrupting your enemies because of how huge the hitbox is and how easily, but obviously just by virtue of being around enemies aiming at you, you'll disrupt them. It's very useful just to make sure that you're keeping the advantage on your side. Okay, so the thing about Revali is that, for the most part, whenever you expose the weak point gauge, you will always want to have stasis ready. This means conserving your rune. So we have this here, stasis, fire it off, immediately go into flight mode, and then fire off any combo 5s or combo 6s that you wish. And that should be enough to continue that weak point gauge. I'll go a little bit more in depth, but the combo 5 in the air where he sends a tornado, he just goes back down to the ground, creates a tornado, you can go back into flight mode and then repeat the process over and over again, constantly keeping the pressure on the weak point gauge and then breaking it. It's fairly reliable, and like I mentioned earlier, because you're constantly out of range, a lot of the momentum will be in your favor simply because you'll generally be in a safe position the majority of the time. Other than that, though, you don't want to stay in flight mode for too long because it is a little bit difficult to control. If you continue going into one direction, making turns can be a little bit difficult. Not to mention there's the innate frame rate issues of Age of Calamity, coupled with the fact that if you're indoors, you're going to destroy your camera that way. So always try to get grounded the moment you find yourself in the middle of the fray, and then you can start setting up your offense. Now, the combo 3 of Revali is where he picks up an enemy. He picks up an enemy and throws them down, goes back into the air, and you can actually aim where the bomb arrows are in the second half of this combat animation. This is extremely useful for building up meter, but make sure that you're facing the right direction as you're doing so. So here we go. You can go about like 180 degrees, I think. You can't go like, well, sorry, no, not 180 degrees, 90 degrees, in any direction, from left or right. You can't fully turn yourself around, I'm afraid. But for the most part, though, because of the large blast radius, and this game is pretty forgiving with the hitbox of that thing, so your bomb arrows will do a really, really good job of cleaning things up. Other combos that you have in the air, you can feel free to experiment with them for the purposes of clearing out the waves. The combo 4 in the air lets you manually aim a bomb arrow. And then we also have the combo 3, where you can continue to do follow-ups. All of these things can be quite useful early on in your progression if you need something to break weak point gauge before you have access to the combos 5 and 6. I think that's all I can really say. We can quickly go into the demonstration to show you what Revali can do. He's a very, very good momentum-based character, and he has all the tools that he needs with his flight mode to maintain the momentum in your favor. So we're going to go ahead, check him out in the demonstration now. Alright, so before we begin, just want to quickly look at the mission we're about to enter into, just making sure that our difficulty is scaled up. And this is Reclaim the Lands on the Great Plateau. This is a pretty simple map. It's just the typical outpost capture with several bosses, including a silver Lionel that is flanked by 2 silver moblins. So that's going to really showcase what Revali's crowd control capabilities are. So in terms of the overall party, I don't want to focus on the other champions since this is just for Revali, but as you can see here, it's only a level 20 bow. You can continue to build up more. That's going to help you break gauges much faster, and most of the time I would just focus on increasing your attack speed, and if you can find it, like I said, like my weapons aren't exactly the most optimized things out there, but if you can find it, I would also recommend anything that helps you charge special. Revali already does it quite quickly, but any bonus that you can get for charge special recharge rate would results in you, instead of having to do like 3 or 4 combos, you would only need to do 1 or 2 at a time. The map that we're going into is really clustered. There are silver bokoblins everywhere, so we don't have to worry about that too much, but in the case of fighting against bosses or stages or arenas where you're exclusively fighting bosses, having more recharge rate would be very, very useful. I've also increased the attack speed. Attack speed isn't as important as one would think, but it does make his moveset feel a lot better, and because of Revali being who he is, his moves have very, very brief wind-up times, so there isn't really that much in the way of lag in comparison to characters like Zelda, for example. So yeah, that's all I could really say. I don't want to use a super optimized weapon because I want to keep things interesting for people to actually see what's going on, and I think that should pretty much be it. So let's go ahead and dive in, reclaim the land. Let's rock, baby. So, the thing about Revali 2 is that his dash attack, in my mind, or in my experience, is a little bit difficult to combo into a combo 3. So what I usually do is that I stop, then do 2 regular attacks, followed up by a strong attack, continue hitting that strong attack, and do the combo like that. Getting the follow-up is very, very important, as you can tell from the wave clear. Usually before I enter a keep, it would be good to have about 2 or 3 bars of special if you have the capacity for it. So here we go. Okay, wait, we'll hang around here for a bit. Actually, no, we're wasting our time here. Let's just go straight to this one, and I know that in between this outpost and the next outpost, there's going to be a ton of people waiting for us. This is also very, very key for clearing keeps. You can see how fast that was. And we finally engaged the Frost Talus. The Taluses in general, you'd think they'd be easy with Revali. I would recommend, in the very least, kind of hanging over by the side on their right. Yeah, I would recommend like hanging over on their right, so that you can constantly be in a good position to hit the weak point. Your left, their right. Generally speaking, a combo 5 or a combo 4 would be good for exposing the Frost Talus. You don't even need to use the elemental rods. There aren't any fire elementals here. I tend to be a little bit stingy, and sometimes being stingy for the purposes of a demonstration could be pretty useful. So you gotta wait for them to go down, wait for the arrows to come out, and then go over to the side. And once you land with the combo 5, you can go ahead and repeat the process all over again. And that is one dead Frost Talus. I messed up the combo a couple of times. I kept on accidentally doing some combo 4s. Okay, so then we're going to make our way to the next outpost. And yeah, you're going to see there's going to be quite a bit of congestion here, which is perfect for our purposes. So again, grab them, throw them into the air, and you can see how quickly you can build that meter. If we had any seals to augment that, that would have been even faster. And you can tell already just in the distance, there's this ocean of silver bokoblins waiting for us. The thing about Revali is that all of his talk of greatness isn't completely unfounded. He's awesome in this game. Again, like I said, not necessarily on levels of broken that I was expecting, but I think that overall, like, the balance of Age of Calamity's roster is pretty good. Everyone has a chance to shine in some sense, where everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, and a large part of what this video showcase series moving forward will be is kind of exposing what that is. There are some people who are very, very obviously very strong, but there could be some characters that aren't as obvious. Oh, and that is a dead Guardian, look at that. Again, whenever you hit a stasis, always try to cancel out of it. Revali, the thing about his combos is that they're a little bit awkward in my experience. I noticed that there were some scenarios where him attacking the enemies after using a glyph punish, for example, a glyph prompt, whatever you would call it, anything that involves using the Sheikah Slate to expose weak points. I found that he doesn't have very many combos that would be very good at punishing those, especially in comparison to like Luminescent Zelda, where a lot of her moveset seems to be almost built around that concept. But in terms of Revali himself though, I'd say that for the most part, just building up special should be more than enough, because he's so good at it, as you can tell. Okay, do you know what? We're going to go through we're going to sacrifice some frame rate to show you just how useful his flight ability is. It's great for getting around, disrupting enemies, if you're not too worried about kill counts, which, to be honest, in Age of Calamity, getting large KO counts isn't really that important. There are no S ranks or A ranks. It's mostly just a matter of you want to fight against large groups of enemies so you can build up special, then use that special, and continue that loop over and over and over again until you beat the map. And there are going to be some Lizalfos later that can shoot projectiles at us, but you're going to see real soon that the amount of range that this thing has will easily disrupt them. Okay, so it seems that not enough Lizalfos have rendered in this fortress just yet. So we're gonna have to do like 2 combos to expose, and then a Guardian comes out. So these Guardians tend to be pretty fragile, but again, if you fire a special, if it's not dead outright, just do what you got. This is going to be overkill. Most of the time I'm just doing a combo 5 in the air. Oh wow, okay, that didn't kill outright either. If I did 2, then it would have, but it's fine. Lose a couple of seconds, which isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Okay, let's clear out this. Wait. Again, remember, 2 regular attacks followed by a strong, then continue hitting that strong attack until you see a Revali in the air. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. This is a very treacherous landscape where a bunch of Lizalfos are going to notice you and try to fire stuff at you. The thing about being Revali, though, is that because you're constantly high up in the air, even if they were to fire something off, there's a very good chance that they're going to miss anyway. The only thing that's preventing it from being completely broken is the fact that... The only thing that's preventing it from being completely broken is the fact that it doesn't do that much damage. But, well, we clear out. We do just enough wave clear by virtue of all of these combo 4s that we're doing. There we go. Sorry, did I say combo 4s? I meant combo 3s. Let's freeze them. There we go. We even created our own weak point gauge with the combo 6 in the air, and then using stasis. For the most part, you're going to be primarily using stasis playing as Revali. It is by far your best option. Even, like I said earlier, anything that prompts you to use the other Sheikah runes, it's not as worth your time since, again, look how quickly you build up that special. And that's kind of what it's going to be about when you're playing as Revali. You don't really need to play that song and dance with the Sheikah slates, although a lot of the Sheikah abilities that he has actually come out quite fast. They're just large, sorry, not, they're a bunch of small projectiles that you throw out all at once very, very quickly, so you'd think that he'd be better for it, but we don't see that as much. Okay, so this attack I actually learned on a previous run that it does go through walls. I thought I could hide behind it, but for the most part it tends to go through walls. Okay. Here is a silver Lionel and a silver Moblin. We line them up, we should be able to kill the silver Moblin on the way. Here we go. Okay, this should kill the silver Moblin, and the second Moblin is lining up with us. Okay, the Lionel is coming here. Hopefully this is lining them up. It should be. The weird thing about this is kind of awkward because he does aim behind himself, but this should still work. Oh yeah, it did. And because of how large the tornado hitbox is, that should be hitting the Lionel as well, right? Oh, alright. See if we can get him to fight us out here. Wait for that stasis. We could have actually punished that roar attack that he has, but we already have a special and we're not going to need any more after this, so we might as well use it. Actually, no, let's finish the animation for once. It's so cheeky. Ooh, he's going to try to meet us in the air with his bow. He's going to try to beat us at our own game. That is great. Oh, was there still... I thought that was the end of the mission. Oh, well. That would have been a styleless finish, but can't have nice things, apparently. Yes, so again, the combo 4... No, combo 3. 2 regular attacks and a strong attack. Combo 3 that Revali has on the ground is very, very useful. Pick him up, and then clear. It's perfect for clearing out the keeps. I can't believe they're not going to render enemies for us to clear this. Pick him up. And sweep. Remember, you can manually aim it. It's very unfortunate this Lizalfos decides to get in our way, but oh well. Adios. So as you can tell, he's just really, really, really good at essentially just clearing objectives as efficiently as possible. For all of his talk of being great, like I said, he's not far off the mark. He may not be the absurdly broken, overpowered character that I expected him to be, but for the most part, though, everything that Revali is very well designed. Everything that he does in this game, whether it is creating his own weak point gauges, for the most part, the key to playing as Revali is only going to flight mode when you're ready to destroy gauges, and saving your stasis gauge, or your stasis rune whenever the opportunity to attack a weak point gauge ever presents itself. Otherwise, though, that's all I could really say. It pretty much speaks for himself. Revali, one of the stronger characters that I've experienced so far. He handles really, really well. A lot of his moveset is very simple, very efficient, and it works. It works very, very nicely. It's great to actually being able to play the Carpet Bomber from the Breath of the Wild DLC. Champions Ballad. So yeah, anyways guys, thank you very, very much for joining me for today's showcase. Revali, Champion of the Rito. If this is a character that you are interested in using, by all means use him. He's really, really strong, and I hope you guys enjoy using him as much as I did for this demonstration today. So until then, see you guys next time.